She had been quietly keeping track of every penny, every subtle shift in household spending, and now it was all surfacing like a storm no one could ignore. When Janelle thought about how Cody and Robyn had operated, it felt surreal. How do you measure value in a house, in shared lives, in moments that were meant to belong to everyone? Walking away, she needed recognition for what she had contributed, the sweat, the patience, the hours spent patching together dreams for a family that seemed oblivious to their own ledger. And then, as if on cue, Janelle dropped a bomb that even seasoned insiders couldn't swallow easily. Robyn, with her endless flair for designer flair, had quietly amassed a personal empire of luxury, spending that Janelle could barely fathom. $1.2 million, meticulously documented, from chandeliers to collectible dolls. Every purchase seemed innocent in isolation, but together, they painted a picture of indulgence at the expense of those quietly holding the family together. Janelle's spreadsheet, precise and unyielding, revealed a history of purchases made in the quiet hours, extravagant choices that made a typical observer recoil, imported fixtures, velvet furniture, and doll wardrobes that could outprice first cars. Meanwhile, the basics of family life, walls, wiring, rent, had been stretched to the limit, balanced by her own sacrifices and relentless calculations. Cody's silence was telling, and Robyn's feigned ignorance could no longer hide the trail. She recounted the hours spent juggling bills, learning who paid for what, navigating an invisible web of shared funds that had always assumed trust but no accountability. And yet, every swipe, every transaction, every special order that came through unmarked revealed a reality that couldn't be ignored. Robyn's world was funded by collective labor, cloaked in design labels and online receipts. The dolls were a turning point. Not just toys, but meticulously styled, curated companions, each acquisition a testament to obsessive precision, sometimes mirroring Robyn herself. From tea parties to elaborate storylines, it became impossible to ignore the compulsive nature of the spending, nor the sheer audacity of it. Janelle realized she wasn't just counting money, she was tracing a lifestyle, one that had quietly siphoned the fruits of everyone else's effort. Every corner of the Flagstaff home shimmered with indulgence. Silk curtains, imported chandeliers, custom art, designer throw pillows with their own care routine. Even outdoor playhouses cost tens of thousands. Each luxury, each whim, became a statement, an unspoken declaration of priorities, and Janelle was done being ignored. She began to collect evidence, one receipt at a time, documenting every suspicious transaction, building a picture impossible to dismiss. This was no longer just frustration, it was accountability. Cody's new fleet of vehicles, Robyn's endless interior upgrades, and even the indulgent doll cabinets became pieces in a puzzle of mismanaged family finances. And while the family looked on, unaware or unwilling, Janelle prepared quietly, meticulously, knowing the day would come when the ledger could no longer be ignored. Janelle's quiet determination had reached a tipping point. Every dinner table conversation, every casual exchange, now carried weight. The hours she had spent juggling bills, tracking every withdrawal, piecing together receipts from credit cards, PayPal, and even obscure boutique invoices. All of it coalesced into a picture so stark it could no longer be ignored. Cody had always presented himself as the steadfast provider, the glue holding multiple households together, but the truth was unraveling fast. The shock wasn't just in the numbers, it was in the audacity. $21,000 on mood lighting, thousands more on imported throw blankets, custom shelving, scent curation consultations. Each line item screamed indulgence at a cost everyone else had unknowingly shouldered. And the doll collection, meticulously organized and lavishly outfitted, was no longer cute or whimsical. It was a statement of excess, a ledger of obsession, and a monument to unchecked privilege. Janelle had the binder now. Thick, color-coded, organized with the precision of a forensic accountant. Each receipt was a blow, each total a reminder of how skewed the balance had become. Cody tried to brush it off, his bravado faltering with every page turn, eyes darting nervously as if trying to calculate how quickly the fallout would spread. Robyn, on the other hand, refused to confront the numbers, pacing, adjusting the lighting, anything to avoid facing the consequences of her spending spree. And it wasn't just a matter of money, it was about respect, fairness, and recognition for years of contribution. Every late-night calculation, Every patch of drywall fixed, every bill paid. All of it had been for the family, a family that had quietly funneled their labor into a mansion overflowing with indulgence. The lavish Flagstaff home, with its imported chandeliers, Italian marble mantels, silk drapes, and climate-controlled doll display, wasn't just a house, it was a monument to imbalance, and Janelle was done standing by. Family dynamics shifted with the revelation. Adult children began noticing the disparity, the double standards. The older kids had grown up seeing their mother quietly absorb the weight while Cody flaunted new trucks and Robyn curated luxury experiences. The contrast was stark. Bulk pantry meals versus extravagant spa retreats, patched roofs versus designer furniture. Anger, frustration, and disbelief coalesced into a quiet storm of tension that no one could ignore. Janelle knew her next move had to be precise. Legal action was an option, yes, but so was negotiation, a formal accounting, or even civil suits for misappropriation of funds. She had allies, former colleagues, banking friends, and trusted confidants, all ready to transform her meticulous records into evidence a court could not dismiss. This wasn't about revenge, it was about safeguarding her contributions and protecting the future she had built through sweat, patience, and unrecognized effort. Meanwhile, Robyn and Cody tried to maintain appearances. Robyn retreated from filming, limited public appearances, adjusted online privacy. Cody posted cryptic messages about loyalty and betrayal, but even his followers weren't buying it anymore. The receipts, the records, the evidence, they were undeniable, and for the first time, the illusion of shared family harmony was crumbling in public view. And then came the ripple effect. A casual comment from Aurora, Robyn's daughter, confirmed what insiders had long suspected. Cody had not only approved but actively participated in funding Robyn's lavish lifestyle. The silence, the sudden pullback, the vanishing acts, it was all strategic, survival-driven. But Janelle had already moved past surprise or shock. She was methodical, patient, preparing for the day when facts would outweigh excuses. Every receipt was a piece of power. Every line item, a story of misplaced priorities. And the clock was ticking. Janelle's patience was no longer infinite. With each day, the family's veneer of unity became more fragile, and her potential legal leverage grew. The stakes weren't just financial, they were emotional, reputational, and generational. The question wasn't whether Janelle would act, it was when, and how far she would go to ensure her value, her labor, and her contributions were finally recognized. The moment Janelle realized the depth of what she was facing, a cold clarity set in. This wasn't a casual disagreement over decor or small oversights, it was a calculated imbalance, a financial ecosystem tilted entirely in Robyn and Cody's favor. And Janelle? She had the receipts, the spreadsheets, and the meticulous timeline that could expose it all. Cody still tried his casual bravado, half smiles and shrugged shoulders, as if ignoring reality could erase it. But the binder on the table, organized, color-coded, every transaction meticulously tracked, was a silent hammer, and he knew it. Robyn stayed silent, pacing, avoiding the gaze that could unravel the story she had curated for so long. The dolls, the chandeliers, the Italian marble mantle, every extravagance lined up like evidence, whispering a single undeniable truth. Janelle had been overlooked, undervalued, and the family's shared funds had been quietly redirected into indulgences she had no say over. It was more than money, it was control. Every lavish purchase, every custom piece, every boutique invoice was a declaration of authority in the household, and Janelle had been left to manage the invisible labor, bills, childcare, and household survival. The discrepancy wasn't subtle anymore, it was glaring, audacious, impossible to ignore. She didn't react with shouting or melodrama. That wasn't her style. Instead, she moved methodically. Calls to former colleagues, consultations with legal experts, careful organization of records, each action calculated to maximize impact and minimize the risk of misinterpretation. Every document was a brick, and Janelle was quietly building the foundation for accountability. Meanwhile, the family tension simmered. Adult children whispered, siblings exchanged worried glances, and even casual observers sensed the shift. The luxury lifestyle, once hidden behind curated Instagram posts and staged smiles, was now exposed through hard numbers. Cody's shiny trucks, Robyn's designer wardrobes, the Flagstaff mansion's every lavish corner. They weren't just symbols of taste, they were proof of mismanaged trust. And the doll collection? What once seemed innocent had become a totem of obsessive indulgence. Miniature outfits, bespoke jewelry, handcrafted sets, over $62,000 spent on dolls alone, not counting complimentary pieces. And while Robyn celebrated each new acquisition in secret reviews and online gushing, Janelle catalogued them all with clinical precision, noting every pattern, every repeat purchase, every luxury detail that highlighted the financial imbalance. Then came the turning point. A casual group text from Aurora, Robyn's daughter, revealed a truth that even Janelle had suspected but hadn't had confirmed. Cody had been complicit. Not only had he allowed it, he had endorsed it, actively enabling the spending that had left Janelle quietly managing the fallout. That single revelation changed everything. It wasn't just Robyn, it was a partnership in excess, a silent agreement that left the others carrying the weight. The realization brought a quiet fury, a controlled intensity that made her every move precise. No wild accusations, no rash social media posts. Instead, she focused on building undeniable evidence, on creating a narrative that could not be dismissed. Because once she acted, there would be no going back. The family could no longer rely on trust, on unspoken agreements, or on the illusions of shared sacrifice. Janelle was rewriting the rules, and this time, she was in control. Even Cody, once confident in his dual household management, began to feel the pressure. Social media cryptic posts, passive-aggressive statements, and attempts to spin narratives were no longer enough. Janelle's methodical preparation and the binder of documented transactions were a mirror reflecting every excess, every oversight, every betrayal in cold, unflinching detail. And Robyn? She had begun to retreat. Fewer public appearances, avoidance of production meetings, heightened privacy measures. Every step she took was defensive, strategic, protective, but Janelle was ready. Every spreadsheet, every receipt, every line item had been cross-checked and verified. This wasn't conjecture or opinion anymore. It was a factual, unassailable record of what had happened and who had benefited. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone knew a reckoning was coming, even if they weren't sure when. The binder wasn't just evidence, it was power. And Janelle, after years of quiet sacrifice, had finally taken command. Calm, collected, and relentless, she was prepared to confront the imbalance and demand recognition, respect, and restitution for everything she had contributed to a family that had long overlooked her. The room was tense, the kind of silence that feels heavy enough to suffocate. Janelle wasn't yelling, wasn't demanding attention. She didn't need to. Every receipt, every spreadsheet, every meticulously tracked transaction spoke louder than any words could. The binder she placed on the table was a weapon in its own right. Color-coded, cross-verified, and impossible to ignore. Cody glanced at it nervously, a small twitch betraying his carefully maintained composure. Robyn, meanwhile, shifted in place, pacing the room, careful not to look directly at Janelle, as if the mere gaze could validate the storm of evidence she had compiled. Each line item, a marble mantle, a chandelier, the couture dolls, was a testament to indulgence funded by family labor and trust. The lavish Flagstaff mansion wasn't just luxurious, it was an indictment. Janelle spoke quietly, deliberately, each word measured. She wasn't here to attack, it was about accountability. The ledger told the story: over $1 million in unchecked spending, repeated luxury purchases, and blatant prioritization of indulgence over the shared responsibilities of the household. Cody tried to dismiss it, claiming exaggeration or misinterpretation, but the binder was unyielding. And then came the unspoken truth. Cody had been complicit. Aurora's comment had confirmed it. The purchases weren't Robyn acting alone. They were a team effort, a shared indulgence funded by trust that Janelle had upheld while managing the consequences. That realization hit hard. It wasn't just about decor or dolls, it was about betrayal, a silent reshuffling of power that left her contributions invisible. Janelle didn't flinch. She laid out her plan like a strategist mapping a battlefield. Legal action wasn't just an option, it was a calculated move to ensure fairness. If the numbers held up, and every check, cross-reference, and verification suggested they would. There would be no hiding behind excuses, no spinning narratives. Justice, measured in dollars, respect, and acknowledgement, was coming. Cody's bravado faltered further as she calmly described the potential outcomes: formal accounting requests, civil claims for misappropriated funds, verification through independent auditors. The threat wasn't a tantrum, it was inevitability. Every action she had taken, every receipt collected, every transaction recorded, left the others with no escape. Robyn's carefully cultivated image of innocence began to crumble. Gone were the staged smiles and curated posts. Each time she avoided confrontation, each time she adjusted privacy settings, she revealed her anxiety. The dolls, the custom furniture, the chandeliers, all symbols of indulgence now served as evidence. And as Janelle methodically detailed her findings, the room felt smaller, the air tighter. The imbalance, the betrayal, the mismanagement, it was all laid bare. Even the kids noticed. Gabriel, Maddie, and others watched silently, recognizing the truth that had long been hidden. The contrast between effort and indulgence, sacrifice and excess, finally became undeniable. The family dynamic was fractured, and this time, reconciliation would require acknowledgement of the truth. And yet, Janelle remained composed. There was no need for drama, no need for theatrics. Calm, measured, deliberate, she was the storm everyone had underestimated. Cody's evasions, Robyn's retreats, and the whispers of luxury and privilege could no longer shield them from accountability. The binder on the table wasn't just paper, it was power, leverage, and undeniable proof. As the meeting ended, the message was clear. Janelle was no longer willing to be invisible. She had prepared, documented, and verified everything. She wasn't seeking revenge, she was seeking recognition, fairness, and a future where her contributions were respected. And for the first time, the others realized. The quiet wife who had been managing the unseen burdens of the household was now the one controlling the narrative, armed not with emotion, but with evidence. The silence lingered, but it was no longer oppressive. It was a promise. The reckoning was coming, and nothing could stop it. The storm didn't hit all at once. It was a slow, calculated wave. Janelle had set the pieces in motion, and now the ripple effects began to show. Cody, once untouchable in his role as provider and orchestrator, found himself navigating a minefield of evidence and undeniable facts. Robyn, for all her curated appearances and designer indulgences, realized the house of cards she had quietly built was trembling, and it wasn't going to settle quietly. Janelle's meticulous records had created clarity where chaos had reigned. Every receipt, every luxury item, every doll, chandelier, or bespoke furnishing was accounted for. And for the first time, the family, the viewers, and perhaps even Cody himself had to confront the scale of the imbalance. What had once seemed like innocent extravagance was now unmistakably a pattern, an unchecked indulgence funded by labor and trust she had quietly maintained. The pressure mounted. Rumors of legal consultation, civil action, and formal accounting requests began circulating. Cody's cryptic social media posts, once confident, now read like a man aware of looming consequences. Robyn's careful retreats, limited appearances, and sudden privacy measures betrayed anxiety she couldn't mask. And yet, Janelle remained the calm eye in the storm, her strategy precise, her execution deliberate. Fans and insiders could see it too. Comparisons surfaced. Janelle managing bills, juggling schedules, maintaining the family's day-to-day, while Cody and Robyn flaunted wealth, indulgences, and luxuries. Social media lit up with speculation. Every new post, every luxury reveal, every subtle comment became fuel for the fire Janelle had ignited. And then came the turning point. A family summit was floated, a chance, some hoped, for reconciliation before the situation escalated further. But Janelle didn't attend. Neither did Christine. And Robyn? She stayed quiet, calculating, aware that any misstep could expose her indulgences fully. The silence itself became a message. The reckoning was no longer avoidable. The aftermath was clear. Family dynamics had shifted irreversibly. Trust, once the foundation of shared lives and assets, had been tested and found wanting. Janelle's actions were no longer about money alone. They were about respect, recognition, and fairness. Every choice she had made, every hour she had spent maintaining the household, every sacrifice she had absorbed now demanded acknowledgement. Yet even as the dust settled, questions remained. Would Janelle take the final legal steps? Could Robyn and Cody negotiate a truce? Or would the audit and evidence force a public reckoning? And most importantly, what would this mean for the legacy of the family, the Flagstaff mansion, and the balance of power that had long been assumed? One thing was certain. Janelle had drawn a line in the sand. She wasn't asking for sympathy, nor was she willing to let the past be rewritten. She had prepared, she had documented, and she was ready to fight for what was rightfully hers. The next chapter of this story wasn't just about money, it was about accountability, justice, and the truth finally coming to light. And so the stage is set. The receipts, the dolls, the chandeliers, and every transaction were no longer hidden, they were weapons of clarity. The only question that remained, who would move first, and how far would they go when the quiet storm turned into a reckoning the entire family, and the world, couldn't ignore?